What is going on, guys? Grave here. Welcome back to the Elder Scrolls Online. And in this video, I want to talk mainly about the racial changes. Now, I did upload a video that was talking more about just everything that came with Wrathstone as a whole, but I don't want to combine these two videos and make it extremely long, so I split them up. This one's going to be just covering, like I said, just racial changes. I will link the patch notes down in the description below if you want to read over them in their entirety. And if you're kind of curious what went on with the game besides just racial changes, definitely check out the other video. Now, first of all, guys, of course, we knew this was coming. A lot of people were kind of not happy with it, but I'm going to go into what the old statistics used to be and what they have changed to the new statistics. And keep in mind, a lot of this went from percentages to just flat rate changes, just kind of flat stats. I have not got to test a lot of this myself here on PS4 yet, so keep that in mind as well. I'm not sure if there's enough changes really to really make you want to go in and use those racial tokens that you received and change a lot of your characters. It's going to kind of depend on what kind of character you have and whether you're a min-max kind of player. I'm not that kind of player. I don't care about that 1 or 2% extra damage. I know some of you out there do. So you definitely want to look into if it's a good idea to change some of these characters after these stat changes were added. First of all, we'll talk about the High Elf. You used to get 9% magic recovery. Now you get a restore 645 magicka or stamina based on whichever is lower after activating a class ability. Of course, this reduces damage taken by 5% while using ability with a cast or channel time. The Gift of Magnus used to give you 10% max magic. Now you get an increase to max magic of just 2,000. And also you used to gain 4% fire shock and ice damage. Now you get an increase to your spell damage by 258. A lot of people thought that the 4% fire shock and ice damage was going to be a kind of bad thing. I think overall the High Elf really didn't receive anything that hurt it. I think if anything it helped it out more than hurting it overall as a character. Now for the Argonian, you used to gain 3% max magic and restore 4620 health, magic, and stamina when you drank a potion. Now you will receive max magic of 1,000, restore 4,000 health, magic, and stamina when you drink a potion. So not a huge difference in my opinion. Also used to gain 9% max health and 1,485 poison and disease resistance. Now your increase in your max health is 1,000 and your disease resistance is increased by 2310, and you're also immune to the disease status effect. They took the poison completely out, which is kind of a sad thing in my opinion for the Argonian tank. Also, the Quick Mend, where you gained 5% healing done and received, is now Life Mender, which increases healing done by a total of just 6%. Another thing that's kind of hurting the tank as an Argonian, but not too bad I don't think, is that because you're not going to receive that healing, it's going to be just increase your healing done overall now with Quick to Mend. Now, like I said, now that is Life Mender. I still think Argonian will be a good tank option. My Argonian tank is one of my favorites to play as it is in this video. I'm just kind of messing around with it. Don't play with it a lot, but I really enjoy it. I have so many characters, it's hard to play everything consistently. But I'm going to kind of mess around with it and see if there's really need to be a change from Argonian to something else. The next thing we got was Wood Elf. Now this used to gain 21% stamina recovery. Now you get an increase in your stamina recovery by 258. Y'all also used to gain 6% max stamina and 1,485 poison and disease resistance. Now you can get a flat 2,000 stam, and your poison resistance is going to be increased to 2310, and you're immune to the poison status effect. Kind of the same with the Argonian, where they got rid of poison and just kept disease. On this, on the Wood Elf itself, they kept poison, or excuse me, they kept the poison and got rid of the disease, where it was the opposite for the Argonian, where they kept the disease and got rid of the poison, which is still kind of bad either way you go. I mean, I liked the old way better, in my opinion, for those two stats on either character, but it kind of is what it is. Also, the reduction to detection radius by 3 meters and an increase to damage done in stealth by 10% is what the Wood Elf used to have. Now you get an increase into your stealth detection radius by 3 meters. After you use a roll dodge, you gain 10% movement speed for 6 seconds and a bonus to physical and spell penetration for 1,500 for that duration, which I will think is not going to be a huge change and make people want to use Wood Elves in PvE, but I do think it's going to make a change for PvP in my opinion with that physical and spell penetration of 1,500. Now the Breton, Of course, you used to gain 10% max magic. Now you just have a flat stat of max magic of 2,000. Also, you used to gain 3960 on your spell resistance. Now you gain 2310 on spell resistance and 100 max magic recovery. And the spell resistance granted by this effect will be doubled if you are affected with the burning, shield, or concussed effect. I think that is a big thing, especially if you're using a Breton as a healer. Also, with what you used to get with the 3% magicka cost reduction, now you get a reduction, reduces your magicka cost of your abilities by 7%. So it's made the Breton, in my opinion, one of the front runners for a healer overall. Now the Dark Elf was the one that got hurt the most. You used to gain 6% max magic and max stamina. Now your increase to your magic and stamina is 1875. So like I said, it went from a percentage to a flat stat. Also, you used to gain 3% max magicka and 279 flame resistance. Now you get 2310 on the flame resistance, and you are immune to the burning status effect. Also, the one that hurt it the most was the gain 7% was the old way of flame damage and 2% for frost and shock damage. They have completely redone that, and now it just increases your weapon and spell damage by 258. Not a big fan of that. To me, it's kind of put the Dark Elf in a bad spot. I don't think it's going to be one of those go-to, especially for magic damage all the time now like it was in the past, especially if you're wanting to use like a lot of burning effects. I don't think it's going to be quite as good as it excuse me, has been in the past. Now for the Imperial, it's changes, but it's really nothing to me that's going to make you want to use an Imperial unless you already just have one. You used to gain 12% max health. Now you're increased max health by 2,000. You used to gain 10% max stam. Same for the stamina. You get a flat stat of 2,000 max stam. Used to get a 10% chance on a melee attack to heal for 6%. Now when you deal direct damage, you restore 333 health, magic, and stamina, and the effect has a 5-second cooldown. It will also reduce the cost of your abilities by 3%, which I think is pretty decent, but nothing, like I said, to make you really want to change to an Imperial unless you're already using one. For the Khajiit, you used to gain 20% health recovery and 10% stamina recovery. Now you increase your health recovery by 100 and your stamina and magic recovery by 85. You used to have a reduction in detection radius by 3 meters and an increase to damage from stealth by 10%. Now you get an increase in your health, max health, magic, and stamina by 825. And you also used to get an increase in weapon critical by 8%. Now you increase your critical hit damage and healing by 10% and reduces the detection radius in stealth by 3 meters. A lot of changes to the Khajiit, and it's kind of almost a good magic character now. I don't know how good you can sustain everything, but it's not a bad choice in my opinion. Now for the Nord, you used to gain 6% max stamina and 20% health. Now you increase your max stamina by 1,500, and when you take damage, you gain 5 ultimate. Also used to gain 9% max health and 2,079 cold resistance. Now you increase your max health by 1,000 and your cold resistance by 2,310, and you're immune to the shield status effect. And you also used to gain 6% damage reduction. Now you increase your physical and spell resistance by 3,960, moving the Nord in a pretty good spot to me overall as a tank, as well as the Argonian steel. The Orc is one of the best, in my opinion. Got some of the best upgrades. You gain 6% max health, and stamina was the old way. Now you get an increase of stam by 2,000. Used to increase healing received by 5% and health recovery, or healing received by 5 and 20% health recovery. Now you grant 1,000 max health that heals you for up to 600 when you deal damage with a weapon with a 4-second cooldown. Also used to get increased melee damage by 4 to 12%. Now you're getting with the sprint cost reduction of 10%, now you're getting an increase in your weapon damage by 258, reduced the cost of your sprint abilities by 12%, and an increase to your movement speed while sprinting by 10%. I do think this helped the Orc out as one of the better damage dealing stam classes. Whether it's the best still, I don't know, but it did kind of bump that Orc up in kind of that regard. Also for the Redguard, you gain 9% stamina recovery. Now you get reduction to the cost of your weapon abilities by 8% and reduce the effectiveness of snares applied to you by 15. Used to gain a 10% of max stamina. Now you get that flat stat of 2,000 max stam. And also, when you deal damage with a melee attack, you restore 792 stamina. The effect can occur once every 5 seconds. Now you will receive, when you deal direct damage, you restore 950 stamina, and this can occur every 5 seconds. So I think the Redguard did get a bit of a buff as well. Maybe not as good as some of the other characters, But overall, guys, I think this was a decent update. Like I said, we're going to have to kind of play with it to see. But overall, they're going to change also with the champion points to kind of make them fit the abilities now. But leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about the racial changes. Are you for them, against them, whatever the case may be. And I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.